Write less and score more. Today's lecture is a simple guide for taking notes in PTE examination. No complicated methods, no jargon. We are only going to talk about what just really works. So I would request to stick with it till the end because section 4 covers that part that is really talked about, and it is when not to use notes. By the end of this guide, you will be able to correctly set up the notebook for all four major parts of the PT examination. And you will be able to create a layout even before the audio starts. You will be able to build a personal shorthand writing system that will clearly work for PTE so that you will be writing less but in an effective way. The third thing that you will have by the end of this lecture is know when to exactly put the pencil down, and this one mistake can sometimes cost the students a lot. We'll also be discussing a 3-week realistic plan so that all this becomes automatic and you don't have to fret when applying these techniques on a regular basis. But here is something important that I want to discuss. If you are attempting the exam in the next few days, I would simply request you not to try these tips. Trying a brand new method just before the examination could have a devastating impact. So applying techniques that not have been properly rehearsed can confuse you. So rather than making you comfortable, that can become a reason for your discomfort. Come back to this guide or suggest this to someone who has at least 3 weeks before the examination. Let's first discuss about what you are being provided with to make notes during the PT examination. In the PT examination, you will get erasable papers that are usually laminated and 2 or 3 marker pens. People treat this laminated paper just like a scribble randomly, but the smart ones treat it like a map to success. And they know exactly how to write, when to write, even before the audio begins. So you have to remember this one important tip. During the examination of PTE, note making is not to write everything. It is simply to write better and smart. And we will discuss this during the lecture as well. Another purpose of the writing or making notes is to simply remember the main ideas. So during the examination, Pearson will hand over a laminated paper set and with 2 to 3 markers. The marker is not erasable, but still you don't have to worry or erase anything during the examination because notes not carry forward to another question. You will always have to create new notes for every question. So you have to focus on one question at a time and then simply turn to the next page for notes making. So here are the 3 simple rules for notes making. Number 1, don't write full sentences, write important nouns, verbs, names, or numbers. Your brain is so capable that it will create story or sentences around those that you have noted down. Rule number 2, if possible, draw a layout on your paper for every question set that I'm going to discuss further. For example, draw a layout plan for each type of questions. That layout plan on paper will help you to note down things where they belong. Rule number 3, write clearly. Don't make messy notes. Because if you are not able to understand what you have written, they will drag the confidence out of you. So instead of feeling confident, you'll be hesitating, and that will impact your fluency, particularly in the questions where you are supposed to speak. Additionally, use capital letters if needed or if possible. A very common mistake experienced or what the students usually make is making notes as fast as possible during Retell Lecture or summarize group discussion. And when they have to start responding, they become quiet because they're not able to read what they have written themselves. So, to put it in a nutshell, readable notes always beat fast notes. Let's talk about the shorthand writing system. Shorthand writing system is a system that you create once, but you can use it forever. The idea is simple: write less, remember more. And in shorthand writing system, symbols help you get started. But remember, the best shorthand writing system is the one that you can remember easily without even thinking. But more importantly, you can use or create symbols for your own reference that are convenient for you. For example, you can use the right hand arrow that could depict it leads to or it is a cause of. You can use an upward arrow that says increase or rise. A downward arrow can simply means a decrease or a fall. Rather than writing approximately and using your time, you can simply put these two small lines, help you identify that you referred here approximation or approximately. Therefore can be represented by these three dots, and inversion of these three dots can simply mean because. And I would suggest during making notes in PT examination, use this as an and symbol rather than writing A and D. You can use the word VS or versus where you feel like the speaker is making a comparison. Here are two examples with the W. One can be used for with and the other can be used for without. Important can be replaced with the three words IMP. For example, or for instance, can be replaced by EG. Word problem can be replaced by PROB. Solution can simply be replaced by SOL. The word government can be substituted by GOV. For environment, you can use ENV. For technology, it can be TECH. Information can be replaced by INFO. And for the word development, DEV could come handy. I would suggest make 10 to 15 shortcuts for your own self, but make sure that you have practiced them enough that they become automatic and you don't even have to think about them during the examination. Let's talk about how to shorten long words. I have indicated few words previously, but here are more details to them. You can drop the vowels from the long words. Most people can figure out that environment can be replaced with ENV rather than writing the complete word environment. Or MGMT can simply replace management, or climate change can be replaced by this shortcut on your screen right now. You only need to understand these yourself because no one is going to read your notes. So don't worry about that. Now let's talk about how to approach notes making for each question type. Each PTE task will require a slightly different approach. So let's begin with Retell Lecture. As most of you would be aware that during Retell Lecture, you would be listening to an audio of 60 to 90 seconds. Then you are required to speak for 40 seconds. And notes making are very important for this task. Follow this pattern during notes making and identify the slots for each of these categories. Usually 3 to 4 points are sufficient for notes making for the question of Retell Lecture. So what to write about? You can write the main topic or the main idea. You can list key ideas, any cause or effect that is being elaborated during the question. You can write about numbers, names, and places that you consider are important. The summarized spoken text is somehow similar to Retell Lecture. It does also contain the main idea, the points being discussed, any examples or details, or at the last you can talk about conclusion and outcome. So it will almost follow the same pattern or a scheme or a map that you employed for Retell Lecture. So when making notes, I would simply appreciate ignore the small words or articles like a and the. They're not important in terms of notes making. Your content should be having nouns, verbs, or numbers or names. Use arrows whenever possible for cause or an effect. Write down the numbers and statistics because examiner or the system is looking for where you are being correct. And when you have written your response, try giving yourself 2 to 3 minutes to check for grammar or any spelling mistakes. And more importantly, look for word count at the end of summarized spoken text. Here is a reminder that your summary should be between 50 and 70 words. Beyond the two limits, below 50 or above 70 can cost you marks. Let's talk about respond to a situation. This is one question type that I won't suggest you to make notes. But if you are keen on making notes, then don't write a lot. You only need to figure out whom you are talking to, what is the purpose of the conversation, what is required, so not more than that. An important question when it comes to notes making is your summarized group discussion. In summarized group discussion, we usually listen to 3 to 4 people discussing a topic, and we are supposed to speak the summary of that conversation. So where the notes taking become more important than ever. I would simply suggest making a sketch. You need to identify the topic, identify the speakers if you can, and if you're not able to remember their names, then simply replace them with speaker A, B, or C. Think about the situation if the one is agreeing, if the one is making a comment, or if he thinks in a particular way about the topic, or simply if someone adds to the point of the previous speaker, or someone negates the views of another one. The speakers can simply agree or disagree with each other. While making notes for summarized group discussion, the important words can be however or but, because this means a new or a counter narrative is about to come. That's where story starts changing. I would appreciate use capital letters for the speakers. For example, a capital A for first speaker, a capital B for speaker 2, or you can simply write numbers for them, speaker 1, speaker 2, or speaker 3. Make sure that you're noting that they are agreeing with each other or disagreeing with each other, or even a partial disagreement is being shown. You're not supposed to cover every point for every speaker. You are supposed to make a summary of the conversation. So we have arrived at another section, and that I consider is more important than rest of them, because you're not always supposed to make notes, and sometimes making notes can become troublesome. For me, it is actually a bad idea to make notes for some particular task. For example, I would simply suggest not to make notes for repeat sentence, because you don't have enough time to write and then to speak. For questions like multiple choice questions, you can sometimes try making notes, but not that frequent or not detailed mannered notes. Learning this system and using it automatically during an examination are the two different things. Here is a realistic and a detailed plan, so that you go from I understand this to I can do this automatically. So I would suggest first of all start learning shorthand system, create your own symbols, create your own abbreviations, practice drawing the layouts for each question type on your paper before playing any audio. Try doing this on white papers. By the end of the week, your target should be creating this layout on paper in less than 5 seconds. Use audios available for PTE question types for creating and practicing notes. And then try to reconstruct your lectures or responses from those notes. Try comparing your notes with the actual content and find what is being missed. And at the end of the week 3, you should attempt at least 2 mock tests using all these techniques, employing the layout plan that you have created, using all the shorthand symbols that you have practiced. And after each mock test, you should go back to your rough notebook and find what you were able to read and what was that you were not able to write clearly on your notebook. You'll have the best practice from the content that you have never heard before. So look for new audio sets and practice these techniques again and again, because new and unfamiliar content will help you go into an uncomfortable territory and explore your limits. And one last note for this lecture. You have seen experienced doctors, journalists, reporters making notes. They haven't done it in a day. They certainly have practiced it for months and days before becoming expert on shorthand writing or making notes. They have practiced it until it became automatic, so that their brain can identify the symbols instantly rather than thinking about them later on. So for the next weeks before the examination, start working on creating a system for you that's work proficiently in exam for you. Practice it till the moment that all this system has become automatic and instant. So when you walk into examination, notes making is as comfortable as walking in the park rather than a burden. So I would simply say write less, score more, and trust your system that you will build for your own self.